book.
And that's how we're starting the stream, is Nathan telling us that he does have his book. That's brilliant. Hi everyone.
I don't have a camera.
Welcome to the pilot episode of Comic Book Club. This week this episode we'll be talking about Batman the Man Who Laughs. This is a new show that I'm starting on the Super 2 channel. This is a pilot. We don't know if we're doing a second episode. It'll depend entirely on how this episode goes. So let's see how this goes. Who have I got joining me today? Let's do a roll call, starting with Dr. Holocron.
Somebody poison the water hole.
And then we got Nathan Snyder.
Hello.
We've got Red Leader Antilles.
Hey.
And I believe we have Robert Emmett, who may be experiencing technical difficulties at the moment. So that is probably to be expected.
Sorry, I had an extra tab opened.
Yeah, it's cool. That's probably to be expected, a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll see how things go. Anyway, for those that don't know the premise for Comic Book Club, I'll explain it right now. These fucks were not like invited to join any kind of special way. This is an open invitation, open forum. Anyone that has this book can join the call. Now that leads to a very, very particular thing. That being said, we cannot guarantee that everyone that joins the call is going to be a cool person. And so I as the host am reserving the right to get rid of anybody for literally any reason.
Yeah, about live chat.
Yeah. I'm reserving the right to remove anyone for literally any reason. If you have bad mic quality or something, if your audio is becoming distracting, or if I just don't like your shirts. So see you, Red. I'm gonna have to just keep. Nah, I'm kidding. So anyway, I decided I did a Twitter poll to decide what the first book we'd be talking about would be, and that is Batman the Man Who Laughs. So let's do a quick round robin. Who had actually read this before?
I did.
I read it a week ago.
Well, I meant before
the event. Yeah.
I meant before that you got to this episode. No, I mean, so this is an interesting thing. This takes on the same general plot as Batman #1, going all the way back to 1940, of the Joker killing people, announcing that he's going to kill people at a certain time, killing them, and ultimately trying to poison the water supply. That is kind of the Joker's first big thing, and The Man Who Laughs retells that first introduction. And I really like it. It is almost the perfect sequel to Batman Year One. It's one of my favorite things in comics, really. I really enjoyed this. In early Batman lore comics, let me put it that way. So what did you guys think of it?
Man Who Laughs was one of the early Batman stories I got when it came to trades. And it's certainly good. As times went on, I've become less and less of a fan of it, mainly because I love Batman #1 so much that I do feel like, honestly, I don't think the original needs a retelling as much. Or we've kind of done this thing where we retell it pretty commonly, because like the water poisoning thing doesn't come from Batman #1. That comes from the 70s retelling, which was Sign of the Joker and Laughing Fish, which I also own, but cannot get that issue right now. But this needed to happen because we were still unclear about that in the post-80s continuity. I mean, there have been little hints of Joker's origin story, because what was it? There was McFarlane drew it. I forget who wrote it. But there was a Joker story, two-parter that came out shortly after, I think, Killing Joke. It was like a few months later, and that kind of hinted towards it. But this is the first real post-crisis, post-Year One specifically, origin story, and so we kind of needed it. And it works. It serves its role. It updates the TV thing, though. I guess Laughing Fish kind of still did that. My big thing with it is I really like the art particularly, but Joker and Batman don't really have a dynamic here. Like, it just
Yeah.
kind of feels obligatory.
Yeah,
like,
that's
okay,
fair.
Batman and Joker got to fight.
Although you could argue they're not supposed to yet because they're meeting for the first time.
That'd be my argument. This is like Batman's first, like, it's hard not to talk about Dark Knight when we talk
It's
about
like your
Joker
awkward
stuff.
first date.
Yeah, like Joker in Dark Knight had his whole thing where he's like, I'm not a monster, I'm just ahead of the curve. And I think that this kind of is emblematic of that. This is the kind of villain that Gotham City will start to face with the Joker. And so this isn't like profound or anything, but I think this is just a really solid, you can read it without having to know anything beyond just what the general public knows about Batman. So I think it's a really strong introductory graphic novel, if nothing else. That, and it's just damn short, so it's easy to pick up and comprehend. Dr. Holocron, what did you think of this generally?
I really liked it. I thought it was pretty solid overall. Granted, the novelty of Batman Joker stories has kind of worn off me because we've had just so damn many of them over the years.
Yeah.
But as far as Joker Origins go, I think this is pretty cool. I just really liked seeing, Batman and Gordon kind of working together to stop the Joker. And, like, we get both their points of view. It was, again, kind of like Year One, where Batman and Gordon and Dad are kind of like dual protagonists in a way. And that kind of carries over into this. And I just really liked seeing how they kind of work off each other and seeing them react to Joker for the first time. My only gripes or things I thought were kind of weird was when, as much as I really like the sequence where Bruce intentionally poisons himself so he can get out of the manor so he can go after Joker, as much as I really like the sequence where he like kind of breaks down and is like, I hate this city, I want to kill you all for what you did. At the same time, I also think it's kind of shaky that that's how he figures out Joker's plan and what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that kind of goes back to the problem I had with Arkham Knight, where, like, how does Batman know what Joker wants, even though it's not really him, it's just, like, a thing in his head? But we can talk about that.
Okay. Nathan, what did you think of this?
Yeah, this was a pretty good continuation. This is a pretty good. I need to start over. This is a pretty good way for new audiences to check this out. I really dug the artwork. I like the story very well. It's a pretty good, nice way for new audiences to check this out. I can't think of any gripes yet, so that's all I got.
Okay, that's cool. So generally we've talked about the story. I really like the art in this. Dr. Holocron mentioned the scene where Bruce poisons himself, and I have like a thing for Batman being Joker-fied or Joker Batmanifying himself at all. Like, that is just like a particular thing that whenever it's done, I kind of automatically love it. And so the idea that the first time they meet, Bruce Wayne gives himself Joker venom is just a really cool idea for me, and I really like that notion exists. I will agree, Dr. Holocron, it is a little like convenient that he's able to get inside the Joker's head in that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think I think that if you are going to like have the Joker turn people into facsimiles of himself as like his signature for killing, it kind of makes a little sense that the poison would probably have a psychological component too, where it kind of alters. Like I guess the thing I go to is in Justice League trade. Robert M. is back. The thing I go to is a Justice League trade with Grant Morrison, where he had Martian Manhunter tried to figure out the Joker's plan by reading his mind and changing the shape of Martian Manhunter, and changing the shape and physiology of his mind into the same as the Joker's, and that started to drive him crazy like the Joker. And so I kind of like the idea that the Joker venom doesn't just make you laugh and twist your face as it kills you. I like the idea that it literally makes you start to think like the Joker, and that's the implication I've always had from this.
My only problem with that idea is that I think, in a way, it kind of cheapens the Joker's philosophy, because if you make it like inherently biological or a component of chemical, I think it kind of makes it a little less poignant, because the thing I always loved about the Joker, as screwed up as his philosophy is, you can't help but shake the feeling that he's kind of right in a lot of regards. Like, the world and the way humanity is basically just a giant joke, and that's the way Joker kind of sees things. But if you make that just kind of a side effect of the chemical, I think it kind of cheapens it a little bit.
That's how he designed the chemical. That's not how he became what he is. He just wants everyone to feel the same way he already does.
Yeah.
Sure.
He feels that way because he got housed in the acid. The Joker toxin or Smilex or whatever isn't the same thing that affected him.
Mm-hmm.
He designed it so that it would replicate his emotional experience, which plays into the whole man behind the red hood thing with him being a former chemist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Robert Emmett's back, so you didn't get the chance to give us your general thoughts on Batman the Man Who Laughs. So what'd you think?
I really enjoyed it. I thought that for a, like, what is it, 66-page story? I thought it was very it didn't feel like 66-page story. I felt like it got a lot more done than a lot of 6-issue arcs do these days. And I could see the parallels to the initial to the first ever Joker's story a lot, just updated for a modern context, and I really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it, and my big regret is that I've not read year one.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So my big regret is that I didn't read year one before this. I've seen the animated movie, but it's not good. So so that's my big regret. But I think it works really good on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't feel like I needed to watch year one to read it, and
Yeah.
it was very enjoyable. I was actually very lucky I was able to get a copy in time, because this was this is from a fortnightly collection they put out in newsagents, and I missed it. I was able to get it back ordered from my local comic store, and it comes with it doesn't just have Man Who Laughs, because it's a 66-page. They can't charge $10 for that. So it also includes Arkham Asylum.
And I'm assuming that's Serious House, Serious Earth, Arkham Asylum?
Yes.
Okay. See, that's weird, because you showed me that picture online, and I dug these out of my collection, because that is so not the book to pair with that at all. That is a terrible book to pair with Man Who Laughs. What they should have done was reprint some of this stuff. These are a series of comics they published over the years that took place during year one. Catwoman sucks, by the way. That kind of just introduced the villains in, like, technically Batman's second year. And so you get, like, Scarecrow, Riddler. The Riddler story is really good. Chuck Dixon actually was Riddler. So yeah, Arkham Asylum, I love it to death, but that is such a thoughty comic where you really gotta sit down and consider it. And this just isn't. So I do not know what the hell they were thinking publishing that with Arkham
What's
Asylum.
funny is the paperback from...
Yeah, what version does everyone have? Because I got I have an older one. I got the DC Star logo. I see a bunch of you guys got
I have
the
the bent one. This was printed in 2008, or the version at least is 2008, and it's always weird because the main story is written by Ed Brubaker, obviously, and it collects a story called Made of Wood, which was, let's see, it was from Brubaker's Batman run, which was 2003. Hold on, it was Detective Comics 784 to 786, which is all about Alan Scott, Green Lantern, and Batman solving a murder. And it's a fantastic story, and you can argue there's a parallel because it has flashbacks to the 1940s and Solomon Grundy, and it is also based on a Bill Finger creation because Bill co-created Alan Scott. So you can kind of argue it, but it is a little arbitrary that they threw that in with this trade as well.
Yeah, so I feel like you need the Batman Villains Year One book, and like this would go perfectly with a lot of these other annuals that they published back in '95. I don't know when. Does anyone know? Like, Red, you're kind of my source on this because I'm too lazy to do research. Like, I'm an actual reviewer or something. When did Man Who Laughs originally get published?
2005, I believe.
Oh, really? That's much more recent than I thought.
Yeah, it has
That's the year Batman Begins came out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nope, yeah, 2005. And the story in the back is 2003. So
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting to do that, like retelling the villain origin and or not necessarily the origin, because like we get the really general thing, because I personally don't like Joker origin stories, which makes me worried about this movie that Warner Brothers keeps saying they're gonna do.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I get really I don't like when we find out who the Joker was beforehand. Like I love the Killing Joke, but that gives itself the out of if I'm gonna have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice. This I think does an interesting thing, and just it gives you the solidification that Joker probably was the Red Hood, but we don't know why he was being the Red Hood at that time. And that's just really cool. It gives you that, nice, vague kind of what is this guy's past, and this is like the Joker's first story, not necessarily the Joker origin. And I really like that about it. Also, there's just some really cool Joker writing in here that I really like when they're talking about how he broke the inmates out of the asylum in the middle of the city, and his method to do it is he just like walked right into the building and just sprayed the security guards with the machine gun without even looking at them. Just casually murdering people is probably the perfect version of the Joker. Like he'll embellish it and stuff when it's needed, but he'll just casually commit murder on his way to committing better murders. I really like that about I like that notion of
pretty much.
I always imagined like Joker being the kind of guy who would go for a coffee, pay for his coffee, and then shoot the barista and leave.
Yeah, I could see
And
it.
Tip.
Yeah, and tip too, right? It's
Definitely.
like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah, I
Or
can
just
see
not kill them like the what was it, the chauffeur guy in what is it? Whatever happened to the Cape Crusader?
Oh,
He gives the
yeah.
guy the keys. He's just like, "Are you gonna kill me? Should I? Like, would it be funny? Tell me. Like, I'll do it."
Oh. Yeah, that's really good. I also like the way that this I feel like this has a reasonably strong take on the Joker, at least for 2005, and it's just we've gotten better stuff since.
And I think his voice is definitely influenced by Mark Hamill.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
But like just the things we have Joker doing here, I really like. Like the first time he announces himself to the world is, of course, it's on television. Of course, he does it on television, and I like the intricacies of the plan. Not only does he kill people so he can announce himself on television, but he does it so he can steal their van, so he's able to announce and broadcast himself whenever he feels like it.
Although, unfortunately, we didn't get Love That Joker from the Tim Burton movie.
That would have been so much better.
Right. About the only
And
thing
Prince music, although that wouldn't really matter in a comic.
Yeah.
You
Dark
can just
Knight
have the
Fan
lyrics at the top.
75 is in the comments. Hi, Dark Knight Fan 75.
Honestly, though, with Joker's first kill, I do kind of dislike the fact that his first public kill is just walking up behind someone and injecting them or gassing them or whatever.
Really?
I kind of prefer the whole... And it goes back to that thing where I honestly think you can still stick to Batman #1 as the story, because I really like just the voice, like just the description of a cold, toneless voice, and then the person dies. Like the first kill, like no one is completely able to take him seriously. He didn't destroy a whole factory of people and kill them in the most gruesome way. He didn't murder a reporter on TV. And Gordon talks about how like Barbara and James and other Barbara were scared. It's much scarier if everyone's just kind of like, is this just a prank? What exactly is going on? Midnight hits. Oh, he actually can kill someone, and it's in that way. Like no one's even seen his face. The first time we see the sign of the Joker is Claridge's smile. And I feel like that was a really good point on Finger's part. And of course, yes, he did. Hold on, did he? I have my oversized copy.
I thought he gassed the news reporter first.
Huh?
He's talking about in Batman.
I'm talking about Batman number 1.
Yeah, he. If I remember right, there was just like a prank that at midnight he might die, but then they were like, "Oh, nothing happened," but then it turns out, oh no, he does die, and he has like a smile on his face.
Yeah, we don't see Joker till the next page. We don't get the amazing smile without mirth but for the eyes of hate and all that amazing stuff. And so yeah, the first time we see, like they say, slowly the facial muscles pull the dead man's mouth into a repellent, ghastly grin, the sign of death from the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so that's I kind of like the idea that the first Batman or Gordon or anyone gets of the Joker's signature is he's on a guy's face. Like he leaves the sign before he physically shows up. And that's a thing with TV that takes that away, in my opinion. And I know that's really nitpicky, and that I'm kind of
I'm looking at it too. I got Stack
not
Deck,
entirely.
which is probably my favorite collection of greatest Joker stories ever told. And to be fair, that is how the whole issue opens. Is that sequence you're talking about where he immediately is just, you get a panel you get 2 panels of the radio broadcast, and then you're like leaving out the fact that we've already seen the Joker by the time we get those 2 panels.
Yeah, but in terms of
this is a very like classically told story where I just don't think that would necessarily work as well because in the way we tell stories in modern comics, because I don't know, something about the fear and buildup that we're getting of the Joker as he's been experimenting on people and leaving them in this abandoned factory. That's just like this opens like a damn horror comic to me, and I really appreciate that.
In the universe, it's more of a sense of we already know what the Joker looks like because we've had by this point 65 years continuity with them. Like it's a matter of in the universe, Batman's already seen Joker's victims and stuff, so he's already impressed before Joker shows up. It's kind of like Batman already is respecting this guy's skills before the manipulation of the clock hits midnight, he snuck in earlier and poisoned him thing. It's really effective. Also, holy crap, that is the same as the Bob Kane, Jared Robinson cover, or not cover, opening thing. Also, to be fair, that being there was kind of out of Bill's hands because they always put that stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, like there's the ways in which these things were told, but again, it's hard. Like this sells better, or this works better for a modern audience. I honestly cannot say I can give someone a reprint or whatever, a Batman #1, and say, here's a really good Joker story, and have it work for them, because I feel like you need the context of understanding what comics were in the Golden Age that you don't have to have here. Like, all you need to be able to do here is read a comic and not really put yourself in any kind of mindset. And you get what I still feel is a pretty decent, pretty strong retelling of the Joker's first caper. Whereas
I read Batman #1 before I read any Golden Age stuff, and I've always maintained it's in the top 10 best Batman stories. I think it is something where you can give that to anyone, really. Because it is
Golden Age comics. I feel like there's a curve with getting into Golden Age comics.
I don't know.
Again, this is what got me into it, though.
Go ahead, Nathan.
I kind of think. Well, I think this works well in a modern context. I do think Batman #1 works a little bit better because it has a nice, simple but subtle way into what it wants to do. I feel like Joker's scheme is a bit more threatening and also a little bit more fascinating as well. While this feels a little over the top, like a little bit.
The Joker
that's what I was
over
going
the top.
to
What?
Yeah, right.
But the thing is, though, Joker's trying to prove just how smart he is. He's obsessed with making a point about how scary he is. Smashing a helicopter into a guy's building is scary, sure, but it's scarier when Joker had, like in Batman #1, he's already snuck in to a judge's house. The way he kills the judge is he sneaks in already as a cop and is playing poker for like 20 minutes with the guy, and the guy cuts his hand on one of the cards. And then Joker smiles at him and is like, I laced it. Like, that's fucking terrified. One of the things is he
Creepy as
calls
hell.
up, he has a, what was it? He
It's
like
the idea
makes the
that
guy. Oh, he hides in a suit of armor and sprays the guy. He was sitting there for hours. The cops were walking past him as he sits in the thing of armor. There was another case where he calls the guy on the phone at midnight and yells really loudly, and there's a dart that comes out of the phone and pokes the guy in the ear. And like, there's even the case where with the armor case, he specifically poisoned that guy to die. And if I'm remembering correctly, the other ones, the cops survive. Like, he specifically makes sure that everyone gets gassed, but he gassed that guy earlier so he would die, the others would live, just to show that he has the ultimate power. He is better because he's the Joker, damn it.
Well, I don't feel like the Joker's trying to show that he's smarter than anyone here. I feel like
he wants the terror. You know, it's
he wants the terror, but he doesn't want to show that he's smarter. He wants to make everyone follow his fall, as the poem reads in this.
Yeah, making them giving a fear of subtle manipulation, that Joker could be anywhere, that the police literally walked by him for hours while he just sits in a suit of armor waiting to kill them, or is one of the cops in the room with the judge for hours. That's scarier than, or on a horror level, on a psychological level, especially in Gotham City, that comes off as more terrifying than blowing something up with a helicopter. It's Gotham. Probably every week a reporter goes crazy and crashes a helicopter.
No. This is early Gotham. That's not happening yet.
Yeah.
No, but it does, because this is post-crisis reinvention. Heck, the same trade collects Alan Scott talking about how he fought Solomon Grundy publicly.
Yeah, but like the notion of these things. Okay, hold on.
It's 2005. JSA has been going on for 6 years, dude. You can't.
I think that's a bit
dude.
I think the implication in this is that Gotham is a pretty normal city that's dealing with a high crime rate, and then the freaks like Joker come out. I think that's the way that this is right. Whether or not that was actually the case in Gotham,
sure, but Gotham was already extreme with its crime. It's a matter of someone like Joker, who, to quote Batman '89, is the world's first fully functional homicidal artist. That's the difference about the Joker. He takes so much pleasure in it. There's, they talk about Arkham Asylum having been closed. Heck, remember they have the thing about the architect, where the architect hacked a guy to death with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
And locked up there. It's already there. The point is supposed to be.
I'm not going to try to sit here and argue that Batman #1 is a bad story. I'm going to sit here and argue that modern audiences are going to have a harder time reading Batman #1 than they will reading this.
I cut it in. I was like 16 when I read Batman #1.
13.
Okay, that's cool. But had you read comics before?
By the time I read Batman #1 was probably my second or third thing I'd read.
Okay, well that's impressive and good. Like, you started at a weird point, though. You got to realize that.
I'm not saying this isn't a good thing to give to people. I'm just saying, I do feel like
Batman #1's probably a more important, better lasting story. And honestly, if we're talking about which one's more important historically, I'd agree with you.
I'm not talking historically. I'm talking. I do think genuinely this is a decent story and a decent retelling. On the whole, I don't know if it's necessarily as even scary to read. Like, it has some cool points here and there, but it has the same problem Brubaker has in a lot of things, where it's really well plotted, but nothing about it super jumps out at me.
Okay, that's fine.
Unless, of course, he has Greg Rucka.
Well, now we're moving Red from the call. Because
to be fair, Brubaker has written some amazing Joker stories. The Joker story in Gotham Central is superb. But of course, that was a third story in a row of Gotham Central, so it was both writers combined, because that's how they did things. Brubaker does one, Rucka does one, both do it, Rucka, Brubaker, both. That was how they did it. Which is a cool idea, actually, when you get down to it. But, like, Brubaker can write the Joker. I'm just saying, on the whole, this came out like a year or two after he did. It came out around the same time as he did his Joker story in Gotham Central. And so for me personally, it does feel a little bit less fantastic as I would expect from Brubaker afterwards. When I first read this, I thought it was amazing, and it is still a really good comic. Again, Manky or Mank, whatever the heck you want to call him.
Doug.
His art, Doug's art is really fucking good.
What do you think maybe that the art, and I'm not asking you, Red, because you've been talking too much. Do you think maybe that the art heightens the quality of the storytelling here? Like, I feel like we're just talking about the storytelling, but some of the imagery in here is just damn good. Like, I really love how at least my version of this opens in the credits, because you get just these images of Joker with the gun, and I really like that. Ah, damn it! Why can't I find these pages now? There we go. Like, I like the way that this opens, and it just that's iconic Joker imagery to me. And maybe it's recreating some of the Golden Age iconic stuff, but there's strength in adaptation. There's strength in recreation, and you can do things and heighten and do a better job selling what the original already sold you.
I'm looking at the pages where he just shows up and like paying attention to the art. The artist does a really good job with like the eyes. Joker's eyes just seem to.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're like this first scene where he has the gun pointed, like one eye is kind of squinting, the other one looks like it's almost about to bulge out of its socket. Like there's just something really deranged in the way he draws eyes. That like I wasn't actually paying attention when I was first reading through this, but Joker's eyes are almost more terrifying than his smile in this, which I think is because that's always been the most unnerving thing about the Joker. I find is the smile, the grin, but in this it's just those eyes and the eyebrows as well, and the lines around the frown lines around the eyes and the crow's feet is just so detailed.
And the eyes of his victims too, like when he kills that reporter.
Yeah, definitely.
She's just kind of like staring at you like this.
Oh yeah.
Or
the one that got me the most, the one that actually kind of freaked me out a little bit was when Bruce is Jokerized.
Yeah,
that was creepy.
One of them looks almost yellow.
Yeah,
that looked.
And
like I for a second thought that it was just the Joker.
Dang.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
You know what? When the Joker show up, and
while Bruce is Jokerized, like you just get a whole panel of his eye.
And earlier we got a panel of Joker's eye when he first shows up. And what I like about that is that's a very big thing that Bill makes a point of in Batman #1. I know you don't want to go back to that, but he says he has like a changeless mask-like face, but for the eyes of hate, and like that's brought in here with Joker. Just the eyes are freaking terrifying, which is funny because that's the thing that Bill compares with Bruce as well when he stares at Joe Chill. Is the eyes are what scare him, and so it's kind of like
it's a nice parallel.
Have that.
Well,
yeah, they both have like that hatred.
His parents, so
yeah.
Joke.
Don't bring that up.
There's another close-up of Joker's eyes.
I'm always a sucker for when we have a blue bat signal. Like just alternatively, Kubrick does it a few times in Batman and Son, and I don't know why. I just always like it when it's like Daredevil when he's in shadow and the colors are inverted.
Yeah, I like that too. It's really nice.
The coloring and the art really works here. I like Doug Mankey's way of drawing Batman. He's drawing more of like a Frank Miller, what's his name? Muccazelli, whoever drew Year One. The guy that did Year One for Frank Miller. Mike's drawing a more traditional style Batman, but like I love the way he usually likes to draw Batman as like the living shadow kind of thing, and so he gets a couple moments where he gets to do stuff like that here, and it always looks so cool.
Just to get on to coloring. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Do your thing. Go ahead.
Just to get on to coloring and stuff like that. When we're talking about art, I like the way that. So this is like a direct sequel to Year One. Year One had, of course, black cowl and cape, but in this, it does look very blue in areas. It does look kind of like a darker version of the Denny O'Neil blue and gray suit. And, Can we just get the blue back?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yes, please.
Would anyone be up with that? Like, even
Yeah.
it doesn't even have to just in certain lighting, and it looks blue in areas. I like that.
I don't know. I prefer Zebra Batman.
Yeah, can we
Not base of
like just a
50s.
whole year of Batman of Zur-En-Arr? Just like with no context, like the story
Yes.
doesn't justify it at all. He just starts wearing the costume for like an entire year of comic books.
Just
I mean,
goes to
I'm
the-
Or
reasonably
just have
sure
a
that
year
if
where him and whatever the fuck Batman of Zur-En-Arr's name is switch places. Like, bring back the idea that he's actually from Flandadex and just have them replace each other for a whole year of comics and don't let us know until the final issue.
yeah,
No.
I'm
That'd be
pretty
amazing.
sure if we all just like message Tom King on Twitter, he'll do it.
Oh,
That
yeah.
guy seems like really encourageable. Like he can just kind
I
of
would do
egg
it.
on things.
And he'll
Or you
make
could
it
do a-
genius.
You could do a storyline where Batman in costume falls into the vat of chemicals and it bleaches his costume, and he gets up and he's Zur-En-Arr
And still and
Batman.
make his cow pink.
Yeah, make his cowl purple. It would make.
Oh,
his-
actually, let's get back to the comic because I do want to talk about this.
Yes.
The section where Bruce is doing like detective work, pretending to be a reporter, and he goes to talk to the factory workers, and like they reveal that that like they've all been splashed with chemicals before, and so like the one guy has like patches of white skin, and they talk about another guy who like stuck his arm in the chemicals at one point, and all the hair on it came up green. Another thing I like, and we don't get it nearly enough, but I love when they do it with the Joker, is when he grows hair in other places and it's also colorized as green, because most of the time the colorists don't even bother with it. But like, I'm trying to remember, is Joker Devil's Advocate by Chuck Dixon. The artist, at one point, Joker gets his head shaved in that one, and he's got little green stubble. And like, I always wanted just my need is for the Joker to be shown with just a really bushy ass beard that's like bright green.
I
at one
love
point in
that.
time.
I don't need to think about hair growing on other parts of Joker's body.
Oh
We
well,
all-
Yeah.
it would be one hell of a bush.
So, what was that story where Joker and Bruce both, or where Bruce loses his memory in Legends of the Dark Knight, and Joker retires and starts a normal life for a
Oh,
while?
Lovers and Madmen.
No, the other. Wait, was it Lovers and
No,
Madmen?
Go Insane. Go Insane.
That's it. Go Insane. Thank you. Did he? He should have grown a beard in that.
Yeah, you really should have. Damn. Oh well. Yeah, I don't know. There's the art and stuff
this
in this
panel.
I really like, though. I think there's a lot of cool stuff done with it.
Fucking
Now, is
terrifying.
it Doug Mankey doing the Made of Wood story too?
No, the Made of
Okay.
Wood story has a different artist for the
Patrick
flashback.
Zurcher.
Yeah, and then there's the flashback artist as well.
Okay. I don't know. I like a lot of what Doug Mankey does with the art.
Oh, that was part 3 only.
I'm not going to talk about Made of Wood since not everyone here has read it, obviously. Robert Bean are obviously there. But I will say one thing that I know is going to piss off Red. I have no
Don't.
respect for Alan Scott because I could kick his ass with a pair of clogs.
No, you could. He beat Sullivan
No, you
Grundy
couldn't.
hand to hand without. No, we're having this
I'm on red
conversation.
sides of this. This is bullcrap.
I'm bringing my JSA trades out. I have a JSA shelf. I'm bringing that shit out.
I read through the entire run back in September. I could back up his arguments.
Yes, he beat Solomon Grundy in hand-to-hand combat without the ring just to prove a point.
I
He's
can
Alan
still kick his ass with a pair of clogs.
He trained with Wildcat. You think you could beat Ted Grant?
Yes.
No
No.
one can kick Ted Grant's ass.
Ted Grant could probably beat Batman.
Like Alan Scott could be defeated by like downgraded Bender from Futurama.
Yes.
Yeah,
Show him
Bender-
how to obey.
But to be fair,
strong.
Bender could probably beat anyone somehow. We all agree on this.
Yeah. Anyway,
If
Well,
given prep, he could beat Batman. Bender, I mean.
okay.
Bite my shiny middle ass.
You woke the sleeping dragon, Ian.
You woke the dog.
Anyway, do we have anything else? Does anyone want to talk about something else that they were thinking of related to Man Who Laughs then?
I'll say I like the way Bruce is written in this. Like, he is Batman, obviously, but he's also got kind of a younger kind of impatientness to him. Like when they're protecting the first guy, Claridge, who Joker goes after first, and Bruce in his narration calls him a jackass. I think that's kind of a cool little thing there because it shows he is Batman, but he's also kind of young and kind of impatient at times. Like you can tell he's still kind of getting used to it.
Yeah, also very much feels like what Brubaker does a lot, where Bruce will say snide things in his internal monologue that he wouldn't as Bruce or Batman out loud. And honestly, in terms of Bruce, this is definitely probably the best in terms of Brubaker writing Bruce, that and Made of Wood, actually. So this trade is all you need to read of Brubaker's detective run.
Okay.
Because the rest okay.
There was like one or two things. There was like one or two things that I was looking at. You were mentioning that you didn't like the Joker origin, them coming down hard and saying this is who the Joker was. You would have preferred it to be a little bit more ambiguous and stuff. There were things in regards to how Batman operates that I wish, just because this is early Batman, though I wish that they had done that a little bit more with how Batman operates. So like when he leaves the note to Gordon, like there's this really cool shot, 2 panels side by side. And Bruce in this has a very distinctive nose. So, like, I saw the janitor, and I saw that nose, and I was like, oh, Batman's disguised himself as the janitor. That's really clever. Like, they're being very subtle about this. And then at the end, it's like, oh, we saw the janitor go in there. That was the only person. And then Gordon figures out, oh, he was disguised as the janitor. I don't like the idea of Gordon being able to figure out that, like, little bits about Batman's modus operandi so early. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
See.
Also, you're not going to recognize Bruce Wayne as your janitor. Like,
I don't know. Like, it depends. He's obviously doing a lot of stuff with like makeup and things in this.
This is the universe where Clark Kent can disguise himself with a pair of glasses. I think we can let that slide.
That's the
and Diana can wear glasses and what else? Wear a suit as well, and ponytail hair.
And Steve Trevor never knows anything.
Yeah, but Steve Trevor's an idiot, so.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
See, maybe it's just me. I did not pick up on that the janitor was Batman just based on the art. I thought the janitor was a janitor.
It was
maybe Batman is a janitor on the side.
Yeah, maybe Bruce actually does have a career as janitor. We don't know.
I mean, between that and like making his super technology, doing his workouts, and fighting crime all night long, yeah, I can see where he'd have the time to fit in.
That is his workout. Being a janitor is exhausting, Ian.
He loves mopping.
Oh, my wife
actually,
I know how exhausting cleaning can be.
Especially if you're a janitor at the GCPD, you got to clean up so much blood on a daily basis. And when Bullock transfers there's going to be donut crumbs just everywhere, like every nook.
Yeah, thanks, Bullock.
Bullock has his own janitor just for his donut crumbs.
Yeah. And cigar droppings. Okay. And cigar ashes. There we go. All right. Well, I know I'm done with everything I had to say about this. It is a very short story, which is kind of why I figured it'd be easier for people to pick up and stuff. So, guys, I think the first episode of Comic Book Club went really well. Does anyone else have anything else they want to talk about with Man Who Laughs?
I was going to bring up, how did you guys feel about the bat signal being introduced in this?
I'm okay with it. It makes sense. Like, I like the way it works as Batman's now seen as a hero by the city, so kind of like it's not Gordon's idea to add the bat signal. It's like City Hall or whatever. I'm okay with that.
I like sort of. I always like ideas of the bat signal because it's such a, especially in a modern context, it's one of those things where you would never think, oh, big light in the sky to call Batman. You wouldn't really. It's something that we wouldn't think about today. I like sort of stories where the bat signal is kind of an impromptu thing that the police later adopt. So like in Begins, when Batman in Batman Begins, where he strings up Carmine Falcone on the bat signal, or I just watched last night. Did anyone watch the new Gotham by Gaslight movie?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Well, without going into spoilers, the bat signal in that is like it's a very sort of crude, impromptu thing to get Batman's attention. So it's not like a thing that the GCPD adopt. It's just kind of like a last minute sort of thing.
Okay.
I won't go into any spoilers.
Okay.
But I always like
yeah,
I always like that because it comes from a place. It becomes it becomes sort of an iconic bit of symbol before it becomes an iconic symbol before it's adopted by the GCPD.
True.
Because we never really get much of an origin for it often in the comics. It kind of just shows up in early stories.
Yeah, like when I was rewatching Batman the Animated Series, I didn't even notice that Batman the Animated Series goes 2 seasons before it introduces the bat signal.
Oh yeah, I
then
forgot about
it's
that.
just out of nowhere. It's just out of nowhere, and I was like, Batman's been active for at least 10 years in this continuity before you thought of that.
At least the 60 series introduced the bat signal in the first episode.
Yeah, and then never again because budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll ask again. Anyone got anything else?
I actually I forgot to bring this up whenever Red Leader was discussing. You mentioned the homicidal artist aspect of the Joker from '89, which I've always thought was one of the more interesting ideas that was brought up and done nothing with in that.
Yeah.
The whole movie is interesting ideas like that.
I rewatched that last Saturday, and yeah, I don't know. Doesn't hold up very well for me personally.
I come from a performing arts background, and so whenever I was into comics before I got into the performing arts, but whenever I got into performing arts, I started to look at a lot of Joker stories from a theatrical perspective. And I just kind of like, I was watching the Jim Carrey Andy Kaufman documentary, and while I was sorting through my comics, and I just realized if I was to ever write Joker, I would write Joker as like a method performance artist and stuff like that, and like basically make him like an evil Andy Kaufman.
That's a cool idea.
And like even to the point where there are some crimes like it would tie into like you look at 60s stuff and some of the stuff some of the crimes Joker commits are like misdemeanors at best, like misdemeanor public menace stuff, you know, like the laughing fish and all that stuff. Like that's then maybe that's animal cruelty. Actually, he probably done for that.
Didn't he murder a lawyer in that?
Yeah.
that's just a misdemeanor.
Well, yeah. If it were a human, it would have been a crime, but it was a lawyer, so
exactly.
It was okay.
You get 3 free ones.
Oh man.
What do you call?
I can see that. I like the idea that Joker slowly becomes more and more ridiculous with his crimes. Like I like the idea at the beginning it's reasonably serious with just like a hint of the like theatrical behind it, but then as Batman keeps showing up, it becomes a game, and so he starts getting more and more theatrical and more ridiculous with the crimes he commits. At least that's my preference.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for the first episode of Comic Book Club, and as you can tell, I said the first episode because this went unbelievably well. I was expecting a lot of technical difficulties. We didn't really have any of those. I was worried that something bad would happen. Nothing did, except for having to listen to Red talk about Batman #1 and Wildcat and Alan Scott. So this went really well, and so we'll be doing an episode 2. I'm not sure on what yet. I probably want to go to a Marvel book just because. But we will be doing an episode 2. I'll be posting a poll of options at some point in the near future, so keep an eye out for that. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed watching this after the fact, keep your eyes open on the channel. I'll probably make another video about it or something when we plan to do the next one, and hopefully you can join us. All right, we'll sign off one at a time. Why don't we start with Nathan Snyder?
Well, I'm Nathan Snyder, and well, this was fun.
Cool. Dr. Holocron?
I'm Dr. Holocron, and this live stream needed an orgasm, so I get one.
Robert Emmett.
I am Robert Emmett, and I mustache.
And
Nice.
Red.
Batman #1 is amazing. I'm Red, and dude, I just wrote a freaking. Yeah, let me defend
God.
myself for one
Here we
second.
go.
I wrote an entire article about just the first year of Batman that was way too long. I needed to get that out. I'm sorry for interrupting 80% of this.
Hey, I loved
It was
it.
Bill Finger's birthday like yesterday or 2 days ago. It's allowed.
It's okay. And I'm Super 2. Thanks for joining, everyone. See you on the next time we get together, the Comic Book Club.
And we're